Hi everybody, welcome back to Hideaway Homestead. This is Kevin.
I'm Carol.
Carol. Hi. Just wanted to give you a review of week 3, I think it is, of our January Pantry Challenge. So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Some of the things that we have been able to come up with out of our pantry this week are vegetable soup, and we've done a good number of sandwiches with egg salad or tuna salad. Those have been good. Last night, Kevin and I made Rice Krispie treats. That's something that came out of our food stores, and that's a nice sweet treat for us. And of course, we had made the peach cobbler before, and that was a good sweet treat.
Say that 3 times fast.
We cooked chicken nuggets because we have such an excess of chicken from our harvest last year. So we made our homemade chicken nuggets. I basically cut the chicken breast up into pieces, about 1-inch cubes, if I can get that precise. Dip them in beaten egg and then coat them with the Italian breadcrumbs, and then just fry them, and that's one of Kevin's favorite meals. So that was out of our food stores also, especially since we still have eggs coming in.
Yes.
We cooked a pork roast out of our freezer that was in there for several months. But one of the things that I've thought about is, did we cheat? Because we've got so many things that we're able to pull out of the freezer. But I don't think we really did cheat, because we came up with this pantry challenge idea about New Year's Eve day. We didn't take time to go load up the freezers or the fridge or something like that. We're just using what was literally on hand. The only things that Kevin has bought, we did buy some cereal this week, some cold cereal.
Yes.
We don't have to have that, but we could have done other things for breakfast for sure. We could have had eggs or grits or oatmeal or something like that, toast, French toast. We've eaten French toast a lot recently, and pancakes, those are all good. So we're just trying to be creative with what we have, but so far this has been a pretty good test for us.
Yes, it has.
For what we have and how well-rounded, I guess, our pantry stores are. Another treat or surprise that I found in our pantry, hadn't used in all the time that it's been there, was hash browns. These were dehydrated hash browns, and I'll show you pictures of them. All you had to do was add hot water to them, let them sit for 12 minutes or up to 15, and then drain them and cook them in a frying pan. They were delicious.
They were good. Yeah.
That was the easiest hash browns, and so practical, because I assume it probably has quite a long shelf life. We enjoy also the au gratin potatoes or scallop potatoes that we get from Aldi or from Walmart. Those are our 2 main grocery shopping stores. But anyway, those come in handy also because they have a pretty good shelf life also. One thing that we don't buy long term are baking mixes or something like that. They don't last for years. Not a long shelf life like canned goods would be, but we do like to keep those on hand. They're quick for making up meals and biscuits and those kinds of things. We have several recipes. In fact, we're going to show you one in just a few minutes. But anyway, those are some things that we found in our stockpile that worked out real well for us this week.
We did actually have to go to the grocery store this week. Didn't have a whole lot to buy. I bought just stuff that we use like on a weekly basis that we may have run out of or something like that. Cereal, milk, bananas. I think I picked up some bananas, some fresh fruits and things like that we don't grow yet.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, pretty much. But so pretty much what we got this week was just stuff that we use on a daily basis or weekly basis or whatever. We have to keep replenishing that.
It's not that we couldn't have eaten or couldn't have gotten by without it, but we had allowed ourselves a $20 a week budget, so that's why we used it this week. Just
Yes.
fresh things, and we're spoiled because we have those available to us right now. So anyway, but this has really cut down on our grocery buying.
Oh, it has. It
Other
really has.
than we're not replenishing things very much yet, so we will need to start replenishing when things go on sale in the future or something like that. It's been a good week. We've been eating quite well,
We have.
and that's quite a blessing to us.
Yes.
So one of the issues that we've come up with for our pantry challenge is what to do about lunch. Last week I was able to make a big pot of vegetable soup using canned goods. I put a can of corn, a can of green beans, a can of tomatoes, and some bouillon, and then I cooked up some noodles, elbow noodles, and we had a little bit of ground beef in there, and used some fresh celery and onion, made an excellent soup, all from our stores. But this week coming up is going to be much warmer around here, and soup just doesn't sound so hearty and comforting when it's so hot out. So what I've decided to do is to make two other options for lunch this week. This option for today, we call it tuna pasta salad. I have boiled a cup of elbow noodles and then drained them and then cooled them with ice water. And so that's what we're starting with. Then I grated up, well, let's do this first. This is finely chopped onion. I don't like a big chunk of raw onion in anything. Kevin doesn't either. He probably likes it less than I do. But a little flavor from it would be good. I'll use my clean hands. In case my daddy's watching, he'll know that these were clean hands. This is about a stalk of chopped celery. This is a small carrot grated, and it turned dark on me so fast while I was waiting to do this video. I like to put chunks of cheese in instead of grated cheese. That way you get the flavor of cheese. We like frozen green peas. These could be omitted if you don't have some. Well, anything in here could be omitted if you don't have it or if you don't like it. And then I'm using 1 can of tuna. One time when my girls were growing up, I used to make this a lot of times, even in the mornings, for them to take to school for their lunch. And I sent a container of this to school with my oldest daughter. Might have even been to work at that age. And she called me later on and said, "Does that have tuna?" And I said, "Oh yeah." And then I thought about it, and sure enough, I had made it in such a rush in the morning. The one thing I left out of our tuna pasta salad was the tuna. So I'm just adding enough mayonnaise to sort of coat this. Looks like I could use a little bit more. It sort of depends on how dry, sorry about that noise. It sort of depends on how dry your pasta is or your other ingredients. I guess I got my pasta pretty dry this time. I had drained the tuna, and so I didn't use the juice from that. Our piggies will be happy for that. So here you go. This is what we call tuna pasta salad. This batch will last Kevin and I several days for lunch or a light meal some other time. I like this with sliced tomatoes, crackers, toast points, I suppose you could do, or some other piece of fruit, just to give you a little bit more variety. I think it has all the necessary ingredients to make a well-balanced meal, and it's nice for us on warmer days to have something cool for lunch rather than something hot like casserole warmed up or soup. So here's an idea for you. We got another idea coming up in a minute. This is called Impossible Pie. Back in the 70s, maybe early 80s, Bisquick put out this recipe in many variations in order to promote and sell their product. At that time, I picked up on this recipe. The original recipe that I had saved at the house is Impossible Cheeseburger Pie, and it uses ground beef and cheese in it. Then they also had a Impossible Taco Pie. Through the years, they also came up with an Impossible Pumpkin Pie. And who knows what all else you can do. The impossible part of this is not that it's so hard, it's impossibly easy, I suppose, because you don't have to have a crust. It sort of makes its own crust. And that's time saving and just a unique part of this recipe. We have used this in so many variations. So let me show you what we've got for today. Most of this out of our food stores. And one of the things that we like about this recipe is that it uses up some of our eggs. Sometimes of the year, we just have way too many eggs. So I'm starting out with 3 eggs that I'm going to whisk. The original recipe said to make this in a blender, but through the years we've quit using the blender and just went with this. This is 3/4 of a cup of baking mix. Don't tell Bisquick or General Mills or whoever makes that, but this is the store brand from Aldi and it seems to work just fine. I like to sort of get this mixed up a little bit together so that it doesn't clump so much when I add the milk. This is 1.5 cups of regular milk, whatever type of milk you use. And like we've said before, if we were in a situation where we couldn't get to the store or didn't have any money to go to the store, we could always use dried milk that was reconstituted or our canned milk that was brought up to regular thickness, I suppose. It reconstituted almost. So in this situation, I think I've got that mixed pretty well. For today's quiche, I like to call it a quiche, we are using the variety of bacon and cheese. This is one of our favorites. It's pretty easy to do. I grated up some cheese, and it doesn't really matter what order you put this in, but this is how I'm doing it today because that's how I did it. These are bacon bits. You could always make fresh bacon. Some of the other varieties that I've seen are using things like greens, like chard or spinach. I really wanted to go out and get some fresh chard or spinach, but today this will be what we use. Another one of our favorites, especially a lady from my church, hello to Clem, Millie at church makes this basic type of recipe using broccoli. So if you've got some frozen broccoli or fresh that you want to throw in, another one that I like a lot, I had at a tea room, was using roasted vegetables. So today, this is what we have, bacon and cheese. I have supposed to be 1/2 cup of onion. I didn't measure, it really doesn't matter. And then I'm going to just pour our mixture over the top of this. And again, this is using my big, deep pan, so you don't need this big of a pan, but I like the shape of it, so that's why I'm using it. This will bake in a 400-degree oven, and I'll have to get back with you on how long it takes, about 1/2 hour, I'm thinking. So we'll put this in the oven. This will be available for us for our lunch some days this week, or maybe even for a good supper. Kevin makes this a lot of times for us if we know that we've got places we have to run off to in a hurry in the evening, and that way we've got our supper pulled right out of the oven and it's a quick meal to eat. So let's get this in the oven and we'll see how it turns out. So this is what our impossible quiche, as I'm calling it, looks like when you pull it out of the oven. It's nice and brown on the edges. You do want to make sure maybe your oven isn't set to exactly the same temperature as ours is. You want to make sure that the center is cooked through. It makes it easier to serve if it's not runny, I suppose. I don't have an official pie server out here, so I'm just going to scoop this out with the best I could find. And there you go. That's what it looks like. Looks like I could have put a few more bacon bits in that. Doesn't look very bacony, but it will be very good, very tasty for us, and a very easy meal, something that doesn't take a lot of ingredients. You can modify it however you want to. I would suggest that you keep the same 3 eggs to 1.5 cups milk and 3/4 cup Bisquick or baking mix proportions. As long as you keep that, then you can do whatever your heart desires as far as what kind of cheese, what kind of meat, no meat. It's just endless, the opportunities or options that you have. So I think this is a great pantry challenge, kind of a recipe.
Thanks for joining us on Hideaway Homestead. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. Share us on your social media. That would help us out a great deal. Leave us comments and ask questions. So until next time, thanks for joining us here on Hideaway Homestead.